You ever get the feeling that life is just a long, slow con, and you're the only one who didn't get the memo? Like everyone else is playing some high-stakes chess match while you're over here with a deck of Uno cards, smiling like an idiot? Yeah, that was me. Except in my case, the game wasn't chess, it was marriage. And my wife was the one holding all the pieces. For the past 8 years, I thought I had a pretty good thing going with Amanda. Smart, gorgeous, terrifyingly efficient. She managed everything. Our finances, our schedules, even which laundry detergent we used. I once bought the wrong brand, and I swear she looked at me like I'd committed a war crime. I was just the guy who worked long hours, paid the bills, and, most importantly, didn't ask too many questions. Turns out, that last part was a mistake. It started small. Amanda suddenly got very private with her phone. She'd slip into another room to take calls, laugh at texts she never shared, and started using phrases like just a work thing way too often. Then came the subtle changes. New perfume. A gym membership she never used. Business dinners at restaurants that definitely didn't serve business. Most men in my situation would hire a private investigator. Maybe check her phone. But I had a better idea. A much, much worse idea. I called Danny. Danny is my cousin. Well, technically my second cousin once removed. The kind of relative who only shows up at family events when there's free food and an unattended purse. He's the black sheep of the family. The guy everyone pretends doesn't exist. And for good reason, Danny has never held a real job in his life. What he has done is run every scam you can think of. He once sold VIP parking passes to a public park. Another time, he convinced a whole neighborhood he was an undercover detective investigating illegal squirrels just to get free lunches. Calling him was probably the dumbest thing I could have done. But I was desperate. Danny, I said, I think Amanda is cheating on me. Danny didn't even hesitate. He just laughed. A long, slow, oh man you have no idea kind of laugh. Then he said something I'll never forget. Oh, cousin, you have no idea what you just started. I should have hung up right there. But, like I said, dumbest guy in the room. So, what do you do when you think your wife is cheating? Most guys tail her, hire a PI, or start emotionally spiraling in the group chat. But me? No. I called Danny, the human embodiment of bad decisions. The plan, according to Danny, was simple. He didn't just want to catch Amanda cheating. He wanted to see how deep she was in. Was it a one-time slip? An emotional affair? Or was I living in a whole-ass Truman Show scenario where I was the only one who didn't know? Danny, being the strategic dirtbag he was, had a method. You don't catch a rat by chasing it, he told me. You set the cheese down and let it come to you. I had no idea what that meant, but before I could ask, he explained. Amanda wasn't going to accidentally expose herself, no matter how many times I stared dramatically out the window with a whiskey glass. She was careful, too careful, but everyone has a price. We just had to figure out what hers was. Enter Danny's genius, or completely reckless, plan. We were going to con my wife into revealing herself. Danny would pose as a rich investor, some eccentric entrepreneur looking for a financial manager to help handle discrete transactions, someone looking for a smart, trustworthy woman to help him move large amounts of money, someone willing to pay very well. Translation? We were going to bait Amanda with the thing she cared about most. Security, not emotional security, not romantic security, financial security. Danny created a whole fake identity overnight. New email, fake business website, even a LinkedIn profile, because nothing screams legitimacy like a blurry headshot and some vague buzzwords. The plan was to make sure Amanda, accidentally, got introduced to him through a work connection. A few casual conversations, a little back and forth about investments, and boom. If she took the bait, we'd know exactly what kind of game she was playing. But here's the part where I really should have stopped things. Danny? Yeah, he didn't half-ass cons. He didn't just pretend to be rich. He became rich. Within a week, he had rented a goddamn penthouse downtown, leased a luxury car, started taking fake business calls in a British accent just for fun. I knew we were in deep when he casually ordered a $500 bottle of whiskey at a restaurant, took one sip, and then said, not my favorite, before handing it to the waiter like he was donating it to charity. The man was method acting his way into my wife's inner circle. And then, Just like that, it happened. Amanda took the bait. It started small. She came home talking about its potential new client, who was a bit eccentric but very generous. Then she started working late. Then came the compliments. This guy is so sharp. It's crazy how much he understands finance. I nodded, sipping my beer, knowing full well that sharp finance guy had once faked a Yelp review scheme to get free takeout for a year. The moment of truth came a week later. Danny sent her an email with a simple request, a personal consultation, off the books. A job with big money. The kind of money you don't tell your husband about. Amanda? She didn't hesitate. She said yes. And just like that, my wife had agreed to do business with a man who technically didn't even exist. Danny leaned back, grinning like a fox in a henhouse. "Oh, cousin," he said. "She just played herself." And I realized, for the first time in this whole mess, I had no idea what the hell we were about to uncover. You ever watch a Jenga tower right before it collapses? That's where I was. Watching, waiting, knowing the whole thing was wobbling, but not sure which piece was going to send it crashing down. Amanda had taken the bait. She was intrigued by Danny's business and had no problem meeting him. But here's the thing. Danny didn't just set the trap. He made sure she felt like she was in control. Like she was making the decisions, steering the conversation, holding all the cards. And she loved it. I started noticing the small shifts. She began dressing differently when she went to work dinners. Not in the usual, tasteful, I'm here to negotiate kind of way. No, this was effort. New dresses. Heels she hadn't worn in years. Perfume I hadn't smelled on her since our first anniversary. And then there was the phone. Always face down. Always on silent. Always accompanied by that casual, "Oh, it's just a work thing. You wouldn't be interested." Amanda was glowing. She was happier than I'd seen her in years. And that's what messed me up the most. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't being distant or cold or nervous like someone carrying guilt. No, she was excited. She had that same energy she used to have when she first started her career. Like she was thriving. And that's when I realized something even worse. Maybe it wasn't just about cheating. Maybe she just missed feeling wanted. Danny played his role perfectly. A successful, mysterious businessman who just so happened to think Amanda was the smartest, most captivating woman in the room. He fed her compliments like breadcrumbs, and she followed the trail without hesitation. "I love the way you think," he told her once, as he relayed the conversation back to me. "Most people don't see things the way you do." And just like that, Amanda melted. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the thrill of sneaking around. It was validation, attention, the rush of being seen. The conversations between them got comfortable. Too comfortable. She started texting him first, sending casual inside jokes that I wasn't a part of. And then one night, she made her first real move. She invited Danny for drinks. Just the two of them. A celebratory nightcap after work, as she put it. And the worst part? She came home buzzing. Happy. Flushed. Like a teenager with a crush. I sat there in the kitchen, watching her pour herself another glass of wine after she got home. She was humming. Actually humming. It hit me then. This wasn't some mistake. Some heat-of-the-moment thing she was going to regret. No. Amanda was falling for it. Falling for him. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Not just anger. Not just betrayal. I felt sick. Because now, I had to decide. Did I want to catch her? Or did I just want to pretend I hadn't seen the truth at all? There's a moment, right after you realize you've been played, where your brain splits in two. One half, it wants to crumble, to fall apart, to sit in the dark and drown in self-pity. That part of me wanted to believe Amanda was still the woman I married, that this was all some dumb midlife crisis and not something real. The other half, it wanted war. And lucky for me, I had Danny. Danny, who lived for chaos. Danny, who once faked an engagement just to get free tastings from high-end wedding venues. Danny, who took one look at me, broken, humiliated, and seething, and grinned like a wolf sniffing fresh blood. "Oh, cousin," he said, shaking his head, "you've been too nice for too long." And he was right. Amanda had spent weeks living in her little fantasy, eating up all the attention and flirting with a man she thought was too rich and too powerful to resist. And me? I just sat there, watching it all happen, waiting for my proof. But I wasn't waiting anymore. I was about to burn her whole world down. The first mistake most guys make when they find out their wife is cheating: they confront her too soon. They want the fight. They want the dramatic confession, the screaming, the guilt. Not me. Danny and I, we were going to drag it out. Let her dig her own grave. Let her keep thinking she was getting away with it. So I played my role. The doting, clueless husband. The guy who didn't suspect a thing. The guy who kissed her before work while she texted Danny under the table. The guy who smiled when she said she was going out with friends, when we both knew exactly where she was going. And while she was out living her best life, Danny and I were tearing it apart, piece by piece. Amanda loved security. She needed to feel in control, and that meant she kept our finances airtight. So Danny and I started loosening the screws. Over the next few weeks, we moved just enough money around to make things look off. A missing transaction here, a weird charge there. I left my bank statements lying around, casually open on the kitchen counter, knowing she'd peek when I wasn't looking. And she did. She started asking little questions. Hey, did you make a big withdrawal this month? I'd play dumb. Huh? Oh, must have been an auto payment. Nothing to worry about. But she was worried. I could see it in the way she started checking our accounts more often. Amanda didn't just want to cheat. She wanted to make sure she still had leverage over me. And I was about to rip that leverage away. Danny had a gift for stirring up drama. So while I played the slow, quiet game, Danny went for the social kill shot. Amanda loved looking perfect in front of friends, colleagues, and family. She was the woman who curated every Instagram post, who made sure we sent out Christmas cards 3 months early, who thrived on being seen as the woman who had it all. So Danny started working behind the scenes. Little rumors, subtle things. He accidentally let slip to one of her friends that Amanda was getting really close to some mysterious businessman. That friend, of course, told someone else, and so on. Within 2 weeks, I watched Amanda go from confident and glowing to paranoid. Ugh, people are so nosy lately. I swear, someone's spreading rumors about me at work. Do you think people have been acting weird around me? Yes, Amanda. Yes, they have. This was where things got ugly. Danny had been leading Amanda along, making her feel like she was in control, that she was irresistible to this wealthy investor. He made her feel special, and when she started initiating meetups, that's when we knew she was fully hooked. And now, it was time to drop the hammer. Danny set up the final meeting. A weekend getaway. A private suite. The kind of thing that would have Amanda's heart racing. I booked the same suite, same day, same hotel, and I made sure the guest list was bigger than she expected. Amanda thought she was meeting her secret admirer for the perfect, discreet night. Instead, she was about to walk into a nightmare. And me? I was going to be right there, watching it all come crashing down. There's a certain quiet thrill that comes with setting a perfect trap. It's not just about catching someone. It's about watching them fall. Amanda thought she was on the verge of something exciting, something dangerous but worth it. She had spent weeks, no, months, building this little fantasy in her head. The secret texts, the private meetings, the thrill of feeling wanted by a man she thought was richer, more powerful, more interesting than her husband. She thought she was making her move. She had no idea she was the mark. Danny and I had spent weeks pulling the strings. And tonight? Tonight was the final act. The hotel was perfect. High-end, exclusive, the kind of place where people went when they didn't want to be seen. Amanda thought she was walking into a fantasy. But what she was really walking into? A goddamn horror movie. Danny had booked the suite under his fake investor persona. Private elevator access, champagne waiting, dim lighting for atmosphere. The kind of details that made women feel like they were in a movie. And me? I was already there. Not alone. I had guests. Her friends, her coworkers, and even a few family members. All people who thought Amanda was the perfect wife. The loyal, hardworking, responsible woman who had built a flawless life. People who had no idea she was ready to throw it all away for what she thought was a wealthy mystery man. I made sure every single one of them was in that room when she walked in. Amanda stepped through the door with that excited, flirty energy I had grown to despise. She paused the second she saw the people in the room. First confusion, then realization, then pure, unfiltered terror. And then, Danny strolled in from the balcony, looking every bit the wealthy businessman he had pretended to be. He gave her a slow clap, the kind that dripped with mockery. "Oh, sweetheart," he grinned. "You played yourself." Amanda's breath hitched. She spun around, finally locking eyes with me. And that's when I saw it. That tiny, fleeting moment where she knew she wasn't getting out of this. I let the silence stretch. Let her feel it. Let her stand there, trapped under the weight of all those eyes. Then, finally, I spoke. "Tell me, Amanda," I said, my voice cold, controlled. "What were you expecting tonight?" She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "No, no lies. Not tonight." I turned to the room. For those of you wondering why we're here, Amanda has been having an exciting little secret life. I gestured to Danny. She thought she was seducing a wealthy investor. Turns out, she was just being played by my second cousin once removed, who, by the way, once faked an entire yacht business to impress a girl. Danny grinned and gave a little bow. And they believed me, too. Amanda looked like she was going to throw up. She turned, desperate, looking for an escape route. But there wasn't one. I stepped closer, my voice quieter now. "You were so excited about this, weren't you?" I murmured. "The thrill, the attention, the secret." I shook my head. "But the funny thing about secrets, Amanda, they don't stay secret forever." She cracked then. The defenses collapsed. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she stumbled back, like the weight of the moment had finally crushed her. She started, her voice breaking. "No," I cut her off. "You don't get to explain. You don't get to talk your way out of this." I turned to the crowd. Everyone in this room deserves to know exactly who Amanda really is. And then, I hit play. The hidden camera footage of her flirting with Danny. The texts. The emails. The proof that she had been playing me for months. Every single dirty little detail. Broadcasted. Exposed. Amanda sank to her knees. And no one, not a single person in that room, moved to help her. I crouched down in front of her, and in the quietest, calmest voice I had, I said, "I want a divorce." The words hit her like a gunshot. "But," she whispered, voice trembling, "you don't get to speak." I pulled a manila envelope from my pocket and dropped it on the floor in front of her. "Already filed," I said. "Consider this your final notice." Then I stood up, turned to the room, and gave a simple nod. The message was clear. This was over. I walked out, feeling nothing but cold, ruthless satisfaction. And behind me, Amanda sat there, alone, drowning in the ruins of the life she thought she controlled. The moment I walked out of that hotel suite, I felt nothing but relief. Amanda? She was left in ruins. She sat there, stunned, while everyone, friends, co-workers, even her own sister, walked out on her. No one defended her. No one even tried. Danny, ever the showman, left her with one final shot. "You didn't even cheat with a real rich guy. You fell for me." Then he strolled out, sipping the hotel's complimentary champagne. The fallout was brutal. Word spread like wildfire. She went from being the perfect wife to a walking punchline. People whispered. She got looks everywhere she went. Even the co-workers who once respected her now avoided eye contact in the break room. She tried to act like nothing had changed, but the weight of humiliation followed her everywhere. Then came the financial collapse. The divorce hit hard. She thought she could fight for something. Maybe the house, maybe some savings. But she never read the fine print on that prenup she once laughed off. I kept everything. The house? Mine. The car? Mine. The savings? Untouchable. She was left with whatever was in her personal checking account, which wasn't much since she had spent years living comfortably off our money. And then, the final blow. Her boss fired her. No warning, no discussion, just a severance check and a polite but firm, "We expected better." Turns out, it's hard to be taken seriously in business when your personal disaster is playing out in group chats across the office. With no money, no job, and no one left to turn to, She did the only thing she could. She ran, packed up, and left the state without a word. No dramatic farewell, no attempts at redemption. Just disappeared. Danny still jokes that I should buy him a thank you steak dinner for the best entertainment of my life. Maybe he's right. But the truth? I don't think about Amanda much. Every once in a while, though, I do wonder something. I wonder if she ever sits alone, in whatever small, empty apartment she ended up in, thinking about just how much she lost. And I really, truly hope, that every time she remembers, it hurts.